Well, first of all, I just wanted to say congratulations on your presidential campaign. I don't know if you saw this, but I endorsed your campaign on Jimmy Fallon. I endorsed you.
In the 2020 election, I, Hassan Minhaj, endorse Kamala Harris. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
Now, you had dropped out, but I endorsed you.
Timing is everything.
I know! So in the midst of the global pandemic that is coronavirus, I wanted to speak to someone who has been championing the government's efforts in fighting this horrible, horrible pandemic. I am joined now by Senator Kamala Harris. Senator Harris, thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to be with you, Hassan. It's great to be with you.
One of the things I wanted to chat with you about is you have played a vocal role in the Senate to help get Americans the resources they need right now. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I mean, let's start with this. People are suffering. It's extraordinary. Just, within the last 2 months, 36 million people became unemployed. Before this, during the campaign, I talked about the fact that almost half of American families can't afford a $400 unexpected expense. That was before the pandemic hit. So that gives you an idea, which is that all of these 36 million people, most of them did not have and do not have substantial savings, if any. When you look at the fact that we have over 1.5 million cases of people who have contracted the virus and over 91,000 deaths from the virus. And that represents individuals, it represents families, it represents communities. So people are hurting. I mean, the 1 in 5 mothers, Hassan, 1 in 5 mothers is describing their children under the age of 12 as being hungry. There's literally a hunger crisis in America now. People are standing and waiting in food lines for hours. So there is an immediacy and urgency to all of this. And I've been approaching it from a number of directions that have included saying that we need to deal with racial disparities and the fact that, in particular, African Americans and Latinos have been hardest hit disproportionately so. And that's based on long-standing disparities that are now just highlighted because of the pandemic. I'm working with Bernie Sanders on what we need to do around getting recurring payments to people, because that one-time payment of $1,200 is not going to get it.
Right, and this was for $2,000, right?
Yeah, $2,000 a month if an individual makes less than $100,000 a year, and it would be $2,000 a month during the course of the pandemic, so that people don't fall off, right? We need to just keep people going to get through the pandemic. So at the end of this, we're not looking at another incredible crisis, which is that people have fallen so far that they can't get back on their feet.
So you're on the front lines, and I would call it the legislative front lines. What do you think the likelihood of something like a bill that would give $2,000 a month to folks? Is it likely to happen, or does it start the conversation?
Well, it certainly starts the conversation, but I'm so sad to report to you that there's a lot about this, what the government's approach should be to this, that has been partisan, right? Mitch McConnell recently said that this is not urgent to address these issues, that it's not, there's no urgency about that, which, you tell those 36 million people this is not urgent, and they're going to tell you something else.
Right.
I mean, the reality of it is that the way this pandemic has hurt people, has, just beaten folks up,
yeah.
Be it economically, be it in terms of health and the illness and the virus itself. Coronavirus, COVID-19 could care less who you voted for in the last election.
Right.
Could care less what party you're registered to vote with. And we need to, as leaders, approach it that way, understanding that people are hurting across the board. And this is the moment where the American people deserve their government to step up and support them. And sadly, there's just been a total vacuum of leadership out of the White House. So what we've seen is mayors and governors around the country picking up where the federal government has failed to act.
Many states have been offering mortgage relief for homeowners, but not doing much in terms of, rent relief specifically for renters. Do you support a rent freeze?
We want to make sure that people who can pay their rent do pay their rent if they have the ability. But certainly we need to also address what I even talked about in the presidential campaign, which is that we have affordable housing crisis in America even before this pandemic hit. for in 90% of the counties in the United States, if you're a minimum wage worker working full time, you cannot afford market rate for a 1-bedroom apartment.
Right.
So I proposed what I call the Rent Relief Act, which said that if families are paying or individuals are paying more than 30% of their income in rent plus utilities, they should get a tax credit. And I stand by that policy. We need to have that whether there's a pandemic or not. But certainly what has been happening in many places is a moratorium on evictions through the course of the pandemic. And that seems reasonable.
But even if, people get this temporary hold on rent, the bill is going to be due at some point. What is the Senate doing to help with that?
Well, so we have been fighting for that, which is to give rent relief to individuals and families who are having a problem getting through the end of the month, because you're absolutely right. And that gets back to the earlier point, which is 36 million people just lost their jobs with no income and no savings. And at the end of this, they're going to then have a stack of bills that still need to be paid, and we need to give them relief, because my point is, and I think this is the point you're making, at the end of all of this, let's agree this is a crisis that is not of the people's making. And we need to lift everybody up enough to be able to survive through the course of this profound crisis so that we can get back up on our feet and be as close to whole again as possible. And the rent piece is a very big part of that.
Do you see the likelihood of that happening? Massive unilateral federal government intervention to say, hey, we're going to go tools clear history on that 4 to 5 months of rent that you couldn't pay. That isn't your fault. Or is that just a pipe dream?
I think that there's going to be a lot of resistance to it, sadly. I can speak for my Democratic colleagues and tell you that there is a great deal of almost unanimous support to bring more relief to families, to renters, to small businesses. I mean, look, we're fighting. We've been fighting tooth and nail to get paid sick leave for all workers, and still haven't been able to get it. It has become a partisan thing, meaning Democrats are fighting for it and Republicans are resisting it. We're fighting for affordable childcare. The people talk about essential workers. We're treating them like sacrificial workers, not giving them all that they need around protective equipment, PPEs, not giving them hazard pay as they deserve, not giving them paid sick leave as a right. So there's a lot of fundamental stuff that we're fighting for. And frankly, this crisis, like most crises, highlights what were disparities and what was wrong and defects in a system that existed before, and then it highlights them during the moment of a crisis.
States are starting to reopen. And what kind of role? We've seen varying degrees here. What kind of role should the police have with social distancing?
Well, I actually have a concern about that. I have actually reached out to the Attorney General of the United States and the United States Department of Justice, because I am very concerned about racial profiling that has been happening. I'm very concerned about a disproportionate enforcement in communities of color, and in particular targeting Black and brown men. These are very real concerns. The reality is that let's speak truth about America and the fact that racism in America is real. And for a young Black man to walk around with a bandana covering his nose and mouth, and then maybe he's also wearing a hoodie, my God, what that might mean in terms of how he is treated by people on the street, much less a police officer. So these issues are real, and enforcement has to be an issue where it is not about criminalizing people for doing what is in the best interest of our collective public health.
That's great. I appreciate you talking about that. So I want to switch gears to something a little bit more fun. Your facial reactions are a part of these great animated GIFs. I wanted to play a game with you. This game is called Kamala Reacts. I'm going to give you a series of situations, and you can just communicate your reaction through your face, just so the folks on Twitter have that so they can use it if they want to respond to anything. I just want your true, from your gut, this is your reaction to this. Here we go.
Okay.
All right. Lucky Charms without marshmallows. Lucky Charms, but only marshmallows.
Okay. Wait, Senator Harris, I feel like you feel equal about both. I think you're just not a fan of Lucky Charms.
I don't. I'm not. I would not want a spoonful of Lucky Charms marshmallows.
Okay.
Like that doesn't. That's not. That does in all those colors.
You don't want.
I wouldn't know what to do with that.
You don't want to just a shotgun a spoonful of sugar directly in your mouth at 8 o'clock in the morning right before you hit the Senate floor? No? Okay. How about this? Vegetarian biryani. Okay.
Senator Ted Cruz. You're the one that's talking about partisan fighting there. That was your best poker face of diplomacy?
I mean, I thought you were going to say like Senator Ted Cruz likes to eat Lucky Charms marshmallows.
No. Senator Pharrell Williams. Okay. All right. Rand Paul's quarantine beer. Vice President Kamala Harris. Okay. Playing ball over Zoom, I see. All right.
Yeah.
Another reason why I wanted to talk to you is a lot of people are saying you could be Joe Biden's pick for VP. Are you going to be VP? Because I think Zoom is the best place to announce this.
I have no idea, but I will tell you what I am going to do for sure. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that Joe Biden is the next president of the United States. There is so much at stake, and I just want to encourage everybody. We need you. Your country needs you. I know some people think that's a corny phrase. It's true. Your country needs you, and I just want to make sure everybody votes.
I think looking forward to November, the pandemic caused total chaos in recent primaries.
Yeah.
What should we do to make the election in November fair and safe? Will an election even happen?
The election will happen, for sure. The election will happen. And in spite of what the president or his, people are saying, the election will happen. And what I have is I am basically saying we need to be able to make sure people can vote and be safe. So I have what's called the Vote Safe Act, which would do three things. It would give $5 billion to states to put in place early voting, at least 20 days before the election. It would allow...
Just say hi. I'm so sorry. She snuck in. She's an early voter.
Hi. How are you? Did you take a nap?
She just woke up from a nap.
You just wake up from a nap?
Yeah,
Hi.
say hi.
Hi.
Oh, wait, Senator Harris, I'm going to re-ask you that. I'm so sorry. She just opened the door.
It's okay.
She's like, I just woke up from a nap. I thought I found Daddy. Okay, baby. Here, yeah, you can take Daddy's watch. Okay. Bye, baby. I'm sorry. Here we go.
Are you kidding me? That's perfect.
Okay.
That was a nice little moment.
No, I knew. Look, I have a sitting senator, and I was like, I got everything going, and I thought I locked the door. I'm so sorry. Here we go.
No, I saw the door opening, and I'm like, I'm just gonna keep talking.
You're like, here we go. Here we go. And then I could see in the reflection, I go, it's definitely a small child because I couldn't see their head, and I'm
Right.
like, oh, jeez. All right.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
So I have a bill called the Vote Safe Act, and it would do three things. It's $5 billion for the states, and it would encourage vote by mail, because not every state has vote by mail. It would encourage, second, that there would be early voting, so at least 20 days before the election, so you can choose what day based on your schedule and what works for you. And then 3, for those states that do have polling places and where people just insist or they go because there's no vote by mail, safe voting, so things like curbside voting. Things like requiring states to put wait time standards so that unlike Wisconsin where folks waited for 2 and 3 hours to vote, we would have it be a few minutes or a certain number of minutes, and the state would have to then set up the system so nobody stands in line for more than those number of minutes. But we have to make sure that people are able to vote in every way that is convenient for them. It is their right, and especially this year, it is so important that the people's voices are heard about who is their government and who leads their government.
Senator Harris, last question, just a sort of summary thing. So many people, and this is going to address kind of a core feeling, so many people turn to the show because our show has an ability to kind of boil things down to their core essence. And I really wanted to do this interview in person, but I want you to address this feeling. So many millions of Americans and people that aren't even into politics watch the show, but they have this feeling, and they've written to me about this feeling. They feel disenfranchised, apathetic, and upset. They feel like this upcoming November, they just have to choose between two creepy dudes. What do you say to people who feel that viscerally? What is your response to that can perhaps help them see voting in November a little bit more clearly?
I mean, listen, an election is not, you're not going to always fall in love with a candidate. You're not. But who is in those offices really matters in terms of the decisions that are made that affect your life. So you may not be in love with somebody, you may not want to wear a t-shirt with their face on it, but look at where they stand on issues and know that where they stand on those issues is going to have a direct impact on your life. Look at their character in terms of, do they express any interest in the lives of other people? Do they show anything that shows that they actually feel pain when other people experience pain? Because people are hurting right now, right? So you brought up a question that's about real talk. Real talk is you may not fall in love. But that's not what elections are about. This is not about who you marry. It's about who literally is going to be the next president of the United States, making decisions about whether the next person appointed to the United States Supreme Court is going to be someone like Sonia Sotomayor or someone like Brett Kavanaugh. It's going to be about making decisions about whether we take seriously the need to decriminalize and legalize marijuana at the federal level. It's going to be about paid sick leave and whether we're going to pay attention to public education and support our teachers in public schools. Those are the kinds of issues that are going to be decided. So please vote and know that that's an expression of your power. Don't let circumstances make you feel that your vote doesn't matter. It does. And when we all vote as a collective, it shows the power of the people. And right now, the power of the people must prevail.
Senator Kamala Harris, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
And I'm glad I was able to meet your daughter.
I know.
Okay, well, one day we'll do that in person.
Yeah, we'll do it in person. All right. Take care.
See you later.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.